serve 6 to 8 people at about $1.75 per serving. I'm one of your chefs today, Sarah.
And I'm Kennedy. And first we need to chop the vegetables and the onions, 2 bags of onions, and the green pepper and the tomato.
So to chop our onions, we're going to use a large, sharp chef's knife. And first we're going to chop off the ends of the onions. It's best to keep the end of the knife on the board and rock it back and forth instead of moving the knife. So we're going to take the peels off the onions. So this recipe calls for chopped onions, and after we chop our onions, we're going to weigh them on the scale. It's important to carry your scale before you measure your ingredients so that you get an accurate measurement.
Hello, I'm Owen, the safety guy. So before we do anything, we're going to have to wash these vegetables so they're nice and clean and all bacteria is off them. And then before we start chopping them or anything, we're going to have clean cutting boards, clean utensils, and we should be good from there.
So this recipe calls for minced garlic, so we're going to chop the garlic very fine.
Also, before cutting any of these vegetables, you're going to want to look for if they're damaged or not. And right here, this green pepper, right here there's a puncture, so you're going to want to cut that off before you're going to do anything with this pepper. There you are.
Now I'm going to slice the green pepper. And first I will cut the vegetables.
Recipe calls for diced tomatoes, so we're going to also chop the tomatoes nice and fine. For our recipe, we're going to use grass-fed beef. Since the beef is already cut into cubes, we're just going to cut the fat off it before we cook it.
Grass-fed beef has less fat than grain-fed beef and more heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids, more antioxidant vitamins such as vitamin A, and more conjugated linoleic acid, a type of fat that's thought to reduce heart disease and cancer risks. Gelatin is less resistant to cut-through, which means that you will have a full, tender, finished product.
For our recipe, a shoulder or butt cut of meat is recommended. So the fat that we're going to cut off is called elastin, also known as gristle. This is usually found on the outside of a cut of meat, and it's very tough.
Okay, the safety guy is back. I'm just going to say a couple things about raw meat. So, for raw meat, after all this chopping is going to be done, you're going to want to wash this cutting board to avoid any cross-contamination. Same with your hands, you have to wash your hands afterward. That way there's also no cross-contamination for that either. And you're also going to want to use a sharp knife. That should be easy already. And
To start the cooking of our recipe, we are going to turn the stove onto a high heat. First, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Then we will add in the pot 2 pounds of onions. So we're just browning our onions now.
We're going to brown our onions for about 10 minutes.
We're going to add our meat to the onions. Now we're gonna add everything else. So we have 2 cloves of garlic, a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 2 tablespoons of paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, and 1 teaspoon of brown sugar. We have half a cup of beef broth, and now our peppers and tomatoes. Once you have all your ingredients in the pot, reduce the heat and cover with the lid and cook for 15 minutes. Then uncover the pot and simmer for about 3 hours until your meat is tender. Stir goulash every 20 minutes and add water if necessary.
Hello, my name is Tamara Ross and I am an Hungarian historian here to talk to you about goulash. Goulash is a soup or stew of meat, noodles, and vegetables, seasoned with paprika and other spices. Goulash originated in Hungary and is their national dish and a symbol of their country. It's also popular in Central Europe, Scandinavia, and Southern Europe. The name goulash comes from the word gulas, which means herdsman, but over time the dish became gulashu, goulash meat, that is to say, a meat dish which is prepared by herdsmen. When herdsmen drove cattle across the country, they also made sure that there was a sickly animal that they could slaughter for the stew. Goulash does not rely on a roe or flour for thickening, but instead gets its thickness from tough, well-exercised muscles rich in collagen, which is then converted to gelatin during the cooking process. Other ingredients of goulash are usually onions, paprika, water or stock or wine, garlic, whole or ground caraway seeds, or soup vegetables like carrots, parsnips, peppers, celery, or small tomatoes. Chili pepper, bay leaves, and thyme may be added as well as diced potatoes, since they provide starch as they cook, which makes the goulash thicker and smoother. Goulash may be served with small egg noodles called cispike. Cispike noodles are made by pinching small, fingernail-sized bits of dough and adding them to the boiling soup. There are many other acceptable Hungarian variations of goulash, some of which include sauerkraut, which is fermented cabbage, sour cream, rice, kidney beans, and mutton. Other European countries, as well as North America, have adapted their own versions. Austria serves it with fried eggs and sausage, and Germany likes it with venison or wild boar. America changes the recipe the most by using elbow macaroni, processed cheese, canned tomato sauce, and ground beef. And that's it.
I have you on camera. Come on.
Oh yeah! Oh. All right, the safety guys. So before you want to do anything,
So when using your chef's knife, it's good to keep the end of the knife on the board and just, how do you describe that?
hello, I'm Owen, the safety guy, and today we're gonna have to